In 3100 BC in ancient Egypt, nobles often built a trapezoid-shaped structure from mud and stone to honor the dead. Whenever someone died, workers dug a vertical shaft from the roof downward. At the end of the shaft, they expanded the space to create a burial chamber. The wrapped body was lowered through the shaft into the chamber. After that, they filled the shaft with soil and stones to prevent grave robbers. This structure became the early Egyptian mastaba. Pharaoh, as a symbol of power, needed more burial space to store the many possessions from his life. To protect them from thieves, a much larger mastaba had to cover the underground chamber. Even then, the pharaoh felt it was not secure enough, so he ordered craftsmen to build more layers of mastabas on top of the first one. But this created a problem. The structure above ground became too tall. The pharaoh could no longer be lowered into the burial chamber through a vertical shaft. So the builders created a long passage far from the structure that connected to the burial chamber. Inside this passage, they installed many stone-blocking doors to stop intruders. Congratulations! You have just witnessed the birth of Egypt's first pyramid, the Step Pyramid of Djoser. Later, pharaohs discovered that if they filled the steps with stone blocks, they could create a smooth pyramid. But a slope of about 54 degrees caused serious problems. When builders reached more than half the height, the structure became unstable and could collapse. So the craftsmen reduced the angle of the upper section. This created the unique bent pyramid. About a century later, the famous pharaoh Khufu studied the lessons of earlier builders. He optimized the pyramid angle to about 51 degrees. Using about 2.3 million massive stone blocks, he built a perfect pyramid in Giza that reached about 147 meters in height. But long underground passages could be discovered and broken into from outside the pyramid. To make the tomb safer, the builders placed the entrance about 18 meters above the ground. From there, a narrow descending passage wrapped in massive stone blocks led toward the underground chamber. Later, Pharaoh Khufu realized that his pyramid was large enough and surrounded by thick stone on all sides. If the burial chamber were placed near the center of the pyramid, it would be closer to the sun god and also more secure. So the builders constructed the king's burial chamber inside the middle of the pyramid. They also placed the queen's chamber below the king's chamber. To allow movement between the upper and lower parts of the pyramid, they added a grand passage between the ascending and descending corridors. Congratulations! You have now witnessed the creation of the largest pyramid in Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Khufu.